Mr. Anna Gulihev, Chairman of State Committee on Urban Planning Architecture of the Republic of Azerbaijan. You sit here, but Mr. Yeah, here. Thank you. Then I will invite Madam Alice Wahome to sit on the other side. You leave, yeah. Leave here. Exactly. Then Mr. Charles Erat, you sit next to Madam. And then Mr. Peter Odengo, you sit here. This session will be organized into two parts. The first one is the high-level session with the ministers, and the second one is the partners interaction. In between the two, we'll have a presentation of where BRUP is heading, where we are heading. And you will allow me, when the Prime Secretary comes, to welcome him standing when it is announced. Since we have 1 hour, let me ask Peter Odengo, in 5 minutes, I insist, 5 minutes, you set the scene for this meeting.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. This session and this meeting is very, very critical at the time when the globe is almost at the tipping point. The urban climate crisis over the last 10 years has reached a point where an intervention is needed. But the intervention that is needed, that between the Africa Climate Finance National Designated Authorities have done, the BRUP, which has been spearheaded by none other than His Excellency the President, Dr. William Ruto of Kenya, my president during the African Summit, the Green Climate Fund, of course, who is joining us also, who have been working in Kenya for many years, and of course our team here, means that the time has now reached where we have to shift the pendulum. But the pendulum is shifting because Kenya has demonstrated with innovative, pragmatic, transformative financing locally led climate action called FLOCA. It is this FLOCA which has got 3 components, which is focusing on the rural aspect of the climate crisis by providing resources in scale and making it available to the lowest local level at the subnational. But the urban sector need to follow the trend. It is upon this background that over the last 3 years, more than 46 countries in Africa has been brought together to come and respond to this urban crisis. None other than our Minister of Housing has been championing this from the Africa Climate Summit, from the UNGA, until last week in Cairo. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are now joined with the GCF, the father of all resources, and together we change the trend. Now, within this, a total of 14 countries in Africa has already committed that they are going to be part and parcel of the BRUP. And they have committed an average of $500,000 per year for the next 3 years to respond to set the urban resilience. And today, there will be a very good announcement from the top. And that announcement will now shift from talk, dancing, then to action and response to the urban resilience that we need. And finally, never again shall we have urban refugees. Refugees within the urban areas which have been displaced either as a result of floods within the urban setup, or as a result of urban heat, or as a result of the urban waterborne diseases that have been coming. We have a commitment. This COP is the COP for mobilizing finances where it has never been done before. And we have team from the entire Africa, including Liberia. They are here with us. Sierra Leone, the Liberians, the West African, all these, the family have now said through the UNCGA that the time has come when Kenya now have to enhance South-South, North-North within collaboration and with our great partner, the GCF. The GCF has done reforms, but these reforms must work now for the continent and the Africa which has been at the front of climate change. And in this case, it is within the urban area. We have hope, we have trust, we have belief that the reforms that have been instituted within the UNFCCC, especially the GCF, is going to yield for the urban. And of course, as we move to the reform of the multilateral financial architecture at the top, the locally led people also have to feel this. Money should filter down to the villages. And of course, in Kenya, we have demonstrated, we have shown it, we have mobilized resources. It is a system working, FLOCA is working, and we have our subnational governors and the founder, Governor Honorable Dr. Otichi Lohea, who is a witness that it is working, it is ready for replication, and we can now deliver for the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for setting the scene. Now you know why we are here. You know the commitment. You know why Kenya is championing this, because as a result of Kenya and Brazil having been designated as the champions for BRUP for Africa and Latin America. And we really want to thank Azerbaijan for being here with us, recognizing the imperative of leaving no one and no place behind. And as we are in the finance COP, we hope we'll have good announcement for support from Azerbaijan. Let me now pass the mic to the Minister. Minister Ariel Goulier.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's my pleasure to join this meeting, which is taking place at a defining moment for global climate action. As we gather here at COP29, the focus on financing presents a unique and urgent opportunity to address the most pressing challenges of our time. The Republic of Azerbaijan, in partnership with our global allies, stands firmly committed to advancing initiatives that enhance resilience and foster sustainable development, especially for those who are often disproportionately impacted by climate change. The theme of today's meeting is not only timely but also urgent. As we gather here under the auspices of COP29, we are reminded that the challenges posed by climate change are not abstract or distant. They are present and they are real. The urban poor communities already facing economic and social vulnerabilities are the most at risk. As a nation that has embraced the principles of sustainable urban development, Azerbaijan understands that climate resilience is not a luxury, but a necessity. Azerbaijan is a country with a rich history of urbanization and development, but we are also increasingly aware of the challenges that come with rapid urban growth. I am pleased to note that Azerbaijan has made significant progress in creating an enabling environment for climate financing and integrating climate resilience into urban planning and development. At COP29, we are presented with a unique opportunity to make a real difference through the creation of sustainable financing mechanism to ensure that climate resilience is a right for all people. I want to highlight an issue that is particularly important for us, the reconstruction and climate resilience of Azerbaijan's liberated territories, where thousands of families are returning after 3 decades of displacement. These territories, once vibrant communities, have been left devastated by years of occupation. People have been displaced from their homes, and their connection to the land, culture, and economy has been severely disrupted. Today these communities are coming back, and with them we have a tremendous opportunity not just to rebuild, but to rebuild sustainable, resilient cities that can thrive in the face of climate change. The government has dedicated huge investment into the reconstruction of these territories to ensure that the people returning back enjoy the resilient and the healthy city environment. The urban climate financing will be one of the topics discussed by the third ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change taking place on 20th November, bringing together the national and local governments, mayors, parliamentarians and financial institutions to discuss the challenges of urbanization and climate change. The ministerial meeting will launch the Multi-Sectoral Action Pathways for Resilient and Healthy Cities, or MAP, a new initiative anchored in a ministerial declaration. This meeting will be followed by 4 thematic high-level roundtables: green construction and energy efficiency in buildings in cities, transport and infrastructure in cities, nature, health and agriculture in cities, financing urban climate actions. The high-level roundtable on financing urban climate actions will discuss what challenges exist for scaling up urban climate finance and what kind of existing and future business models for climate finance can support multi-sectoral and multi-level climate actions. The roundtable will also encourage stronger collaboration among governments, UN agencies, MDBs, international finance institutions, and other stakeholders to support accelerated urban climate finance and scale up resource mobilization for cities that reach out the vulnerable population as well. At this point, we must also acknowledge the importance of collaboration. Azerbaijan, along with our international partners, is committed to ensuring that knowledge sharing and capacity building are central components of any climate resilience program. As we look forward to the COP29 Urbanization Day on November 20th, we extend an invitation to each of you. We also look forward to welcoming you in Baku in 2026 for WUF 13, where we hope to report on the meaningful outcomes generated by our shared efforts. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for all these announcements. Will be there. WUF will be there. And we will follow up on all the round tables for collaboration that we announced. Point taken on the November 20th. Thank you. It's my turn now to Dr. Charles Elard, Chief Strategy and Impact Officer, Green Climate Fund.
Your Excellencies, partners and colleagues, the Green Climate Fund is delighted to participate in this event today, addressing one of the most important challenges of our time: strengthening the resilience of the urban poor to the impacts of climate change and supporting their transition to our low emissions future. Yesterday, the World Meteorological Organization released its annual State of the Climate Update. And once again, the WMO's update delivered a red alert about the speed at which our climate is changing, turbocharged by ever-increasing greenhouse gas concentrations in our atmosphere. For some people, it seems the real crisis is still around the corner. But for people in the underserved poor neighborhoods of Africa's cities, it's been here for a long time. For them, real climate action cannot be too fast or too transformative. By 2050, more than 2/3 of the global population will call cities home. This rapid urbanization presents us with an undeniable opportunity to build a climate-resilient future, and yet it also brings significant risks. particularly in our shared fight against climate change. And nowhere is this challenge more urgent or more promising than in Africa. Across Africa, urbanization is unfolding at a scale and speed unlike anything seen before. Since the early 2000s, Africa's urban population has doubled, and at the current pace, it will double again by 2050. This urban growth offers hope for economic development, but it also brings intensified climate risks. Climate impacts are pushing people towards cities, and in turn, these cities are becoming climate hotspots, placing millions at risk. For Africa's cities, the stakes are clear. Bolstering urban resilience and unlocking low emissions development pathways are not optional goals. They are essential must-win outcomes in the battle against climate change. To succeed, we need a shared commitment across borders, as represented by this organization. Countries must come together, learn from one another, and build alliances that cross sectors and continents. African cities are already responding to climate shocks, and the lessons that you are learning from your resilience efforts are invaluable for understanding how to forge a future of shared climate resilience and ultimately prosperity. But these changes don't come without a cost, and to support these efforts, access to adequate and predictable climate finance is essential. Today, we're facing the most existential threat to our future, and resources must flow urgently if we are to secure the future of Africa's urban poor and underserved communities. At the Green Climate Fund, we're doing our part to meet Africa's needs with the urgency and scale this crisis demands, and with the social inclusivity that true equity requires. Globally, the GCF has invested over $1 billion in climate-compatible urban development, one of our 8 priority investment areas. In Rwanda, for example, we're investing $35 million in the Green City Kigali project, which aims at building risk-reducing infrastructure in an informal settlement that houses 30,000 people. For inspiration of potential scale, in Mongolia, we're working with the Asian Development Bank, investing $570 million in the Ulaanbaatar Green Affordable Housing and Resilient Urban Renewable Project. And this is providing resilient housing and essential infrastructure for some 350,000 people. These projects are just a glimpse of what is possible when we invest strategically and inclusively in locally defined priorities. The GCF's Readiness program has become a vital tool for supporting countries and cities to lay the foundations for climate finance. Through our Readiness program, governments have been able to establish institutional structures, coordinate climate action, build regulatory frameworks, and achieve early results. With this commitment as our North Star, the GCF is rapidly transforming our approach, putting countries in the driver's seat. The revised Readiness strategy, GCF's, which is all about becoming faster, simpler, and smarter, is structured around 3 primary goals: building capacity for climate financing and enabling environments; 2, developing country-specific programming for both mitigation and adaptation; and fostering knowledge sharing and learning. Simply put, we're empowering countries and regions to set their own agendas, with the GCF subsequently funding initiatives that come directly from those country and regionally designed and led programs. The GCF's shift to a country-centered approach means that if urban resilience is a priority, countries will have the resources and the autonomy to design tailored solutions with their chosen partners. This is just one of the ways in which reforms at the GCF are enhancing our value and impact to make a tangible difference on the ground. In closing, I just want to emphasize that we stand at a crossroads. We can either choose to take bold, unified action today or risk deepening vulnerability in our cities tomorrow. To your initiative's participating states, I would like to say that your example of innovation and collaboration is truly inspiring. The GCF is honored to stand beside you in solidarity. We look forward to supporting your efforts to establish green pathways for resilient urban poor communities and to establish new institutional, legal, and organizational frameworks that facilitate the active inclusion of the urban poor in city management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In my flying from place to place, yes. Unfortunately.
One for all.
Well, thank you very much. We knew that GCF reform was going on. Now we are sure that it is result-oriented, it is agile, it is impactful, and you say country-led. So thank you very much for that. And we hope that with BRUP you have an example of what it is to go to your reform. So what we expect is that GCF support strongly BRUP Readiness program. Madam Minister, your turn to give us your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Bassi. Let me, as a host, welcome everybody for this afternoon meeting. Thank you very much for coming, my co-panelists, our guests. Thank you very much for the commitments that you have already given us and the collaboration that you have promised will be taking place. We obviously are very happy with the work so far. We have taken up with Brazil, with Egypt when we were in COP, when we were in okay, I'm just being advised. In Cairo, we were in Cairo, and we worked very well. And I think for this particular platform today, this meeting is basically a build-up of what has been taking place. I have received information that I may have to give the commitment statement from the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who is still held up in the session that we were co-hosting with another country, and therefore the co-host left the responsibility of continuing with that meeting. But let me say that we so far are doing well. Building climate resilience of the poor is a program that started as a call to action by the UN Secretary General in 2019 in New York, and therefore that is the level at which we are moving or operating from. We must confess that we have received so far the highest political goodwill we can have for this particular program, and Kenya and Brazil are leading in this program, the Building Climate Resilience Program. And for us, of course, we know when we talk about resilience for the urban poor, we must bring in mind the situations in our African countries, our African cities, towns that are going through very difficult periods with the population growth moving very rapidly, and unpreparedness of these cities and towns to receive the population, and the shock that people get when they enter into cities, because obviously they go there looking for work, and therefore the growth of the informal settlement is accelerated by reason of the quick movement of population from the rural villages to the towns. Therefore, let me take this opportunity to get in the shoes of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi. He is the Foreign Affairs Minister, Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Minister in Kenya. He's also has held before the position of the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya, and most importantly for our program, that he has been the local government minister in a previous government, and therefore fully understands this particular program. allow me therefore to go quickly into what he wanted to say for this meeting. He says, it's with great pleasure that I welcome and thank all of you for taking time to participate in this significant event, which is crucial for the implementation of the Building Climate Resilience for the Urban Poor. We are thankful to the people and the government of Azerbaijan for the wonderful welcoming reception that we have so far received through the vibrant COP29 activities. The main activity in here, or the theme tagged as Financial COP. This is where we are negotiating and discussing about finance. We are particularly grateful that His Excellency Anna Guleyev, Chairman and State Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture, Republic of Azerbaijan, accepted to spare some time in his busy schedule to grace this meeting. As we gather here in Baku, the theme of COP29, that is in solidarity for the green world, aligns perfectly with the goals of BRUP program. This theme emphasizes two intertwined dimensions of sustainable growth, solidarity among people to ensure that no one is left behind, and a transition to a low-carbon, green development path to achieve resilient and sustainable development at all levels. BRUP initiative is precisely designed to meet these dual requirements by enhancing the adaptive capacity of urban dwellers living in poor neighborhoods, enabling them to recover from shocks and stresses during and after climate emergencies. We've all experienced those emergencies, either drought or floods. As you may be aware, during the UN Climate Summit held in New York 2019, the UN Secretary General identified and prioritized 9 tracks to address the global climate crisis, among which building climate resilience with the urban poor, which Kenya is co-leading with Brazil on behalf of the global community. The choice and role of the two countries in leading the initiative is justified by the fact that our two regions of Latin America and Africa are the ones urbanizing at the highest pace in the world, and that unfortunately urban growth in the regions translate into the growth of informal settlements and slums with substandard housing and limited access to jobs and services, posing significant risks for national and local governments. Climate change will exacerbate these threats, making life in many African cities, particularly in poor neighborhoods, increasingly difficult due to worsening flooding, heat waves, water shortages, food scarcity. For example, in early 2024, Nairobi experienced severe flooding with devastating impacts on population, majority of whom were the urban poor, and such riparian areas carried away with them people who were living in those areas. Without proactive planning and investment, many of these new urban residents could end up in informal settlements. It is therefore a political imperative that we provide decent services to urban residents in a low carbon manner while enhancing their resilience to climate shocks and stresses. The climate emergency demands that we address multiple challenges simultaneously. The unprecedented challenge in human history also presents an opportunity for governments to enter in a process of co-creating livelihoods with citizens and agree with them on content. We underscore the need to connect urbanization processes with climate change and confirm our collective will of leaving no one and no place behind. BRUP, through enhancing the adaptive capacity of the urban poor to face and recover from climate-induced shocks, is doing exactly that. I want to move a bit faster and say that at the financial COP29 in Baku, we wish that the resolve of the international community to the principle of leave no one and no place behind be concretized with financial commitments. As you may be aware, the implementation of the pilot phase for BRUP in 14 countries and around 1,000 urban poor neighborhoods has already been identified, and the countries have enlisted themselves. There is need to mobilize around $6 billion over the next 10 years, with the present lovely amounting to an amount of $50 investment per capita over that period. As governments and partners in the climate finance space, let's work together. I wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the government of Azerbaijan and all partners engaged in the BRUP initiative. Your steadfast support to BRUP is invaluable, galvanizing action for Africa and beyond to bring this vision to life. I extend warm congratulations to African countries who have so far volunteered to be part of the pilot implementation project or program, the face of BRUP. Your commitment and cooperation are commendable and pivotal to the success of this program. Let me thank especially for the commitment and cooperation of Botswana, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Ethiopia, Eswatini country, Gabon, Ghana, Kenya, Morocco, Mozambique, Rwanda, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. Together, we are forging a powerful alliance for resilience to move this program forward. With these words, it is my honor and pleasure to officially launch the BRUP fundraising campaign, starting with the design of regional readiness project to be submitted to the Green Climate Fund in order to fast-track the work towards execution. Thank you very much for your attention. That is the statement by the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Thank you very much for listening. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Now, let's take 15 minutes because we have to quit this room in 15 minutes. Let's take 15 minutes to have statement by partners. And let me call UN Habitat representative here. Come to this mic. UN Habitat. I don't see UN Habitat. Okay, Commonwealth Secretariat.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, moderator. I think this is absolutely encouraging as to we've reached the stage in 3 years to come to a stage where we BRUP fundraising, come to the BRUP fundraising campaign to get kicked off at this event. Let me, Commonwealth Secretary, we heard about the roles people have to play, and we talked about knowledge sharing and capacity building being central to make these things happen. So this is where the Commonwealth Secretarial's role will play an important role through knowledge sharing and capacity building, along with all our, and trying to enable this across African countries. As Commonwealth Secretariat, we work closely with GCF already with respect to our Climate Finance Access Hub, which works with member countries to provide them access to in capacity building for access to climate finance, working on readiness projects. So as we move forward in terms of developing and progressing with readiness projects, Commonwealth Secretariat is not only a core partner but a close partner in developing C. Let me step back a little bit and give you some numbers, because data for evidence to influence policy and also action in actually protecting or making sure there is resilient development for our countries, particularly in this case inclusion and for the urban poor, so that nobody is left behind. At the moment, and I'm taking data from UN Habitat, which says African urbanization was rated at 44% in 2021, but I think that's very low, maybe in 2021, but we heard about how rapidly it's going to accelerate, and Africa is where it is going to accelerate the fastest in the region, where more development is going to happen in the next 10 years. However, the vulnerabilities are also exacerbated when this urbanization happens by low adaptive capacity and limited financial, technology, government systems, and lack of institutional frameworks. And this is why this program is so important to enable that urban informal settlements are ready and are protected and are made resilient in ensuring that we have a resilient development which leaves nobody behind. So this is where innovation is necessary, mix of technologies is necessary, such as solar, wind, biogas, all those things. Plus education is also very important, creating awareness. So what do we need to do? We need to accelerate our commitment to urban climate action. We need to enhance enabling environments. We need to increase capacity levels, city capacity gaps. We also have to accelerate capital mobilization, including engaging with the private sector. Thank you very much. I hand it back to you.
Thank you. Capacity building, technologies, innovations. This is where we see Commonwealth Secretary coming in preparedness for the request for funding to the Green Climate Fund. I may call Habitat for Humanity. Is there any representative?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Masi. My name is Margaret Mengo. I work as the director of our program operations for Africa at Habitat for Humanity, an NGO and CSO that is focused on shelter, where our vision is a decent place where everyone calls home. We have been partners of the BRUP program since the start. We've journeyed with BRUP, and I'm also happy to see that we are at the stage where we want to fundraise and see that the program gets underway. Habitat for Humanity works across 70 countries globally, and we are lucky within the continent of Africa to have representation already in 5 countries. So what that means for us is, as an implementing organization, as an organization that seeks to influence within the housing ecosystem, that incorporates the work that seeks to influence within the housing ecosystem. We're looking forward to journey through fundraising and also implementing different interventions, whether it is, nature-based solutions, whether it's tapping into indigenous knowledge, whether it's early warning systems to continue reinforcing climate resilience in different communities across the continent and beyond. So on behalf of Habitat for Humanity International, I just want to provide our reassurance that we are in this journey together, and we look forward to collaborate because I think when we at Habitat for Humanity say that Habitat for Humanity focuses on an ecosystem view of how we do the things we do. So housing goes beyond four walls. Housing incorporates an adequate home, has to have basic services, it has to have energy, it has to have solid waste management. We build on land, we are not yet building on air yet. Maybe we will soon, but we currently build on land. And when we think about all those things and think about rapid urbanization, there are risks to it. We've seen displacements in our country, Kenya. We've seen displacements across the coastal regions of West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, the Volta region. So, and those countries are represented in the BRUP program. So I'm making commitments on behalf of our organization to journey and partner with you in this process. And we look forward to making the changes within the vulnerable communities that we currently are calling the urban poor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. UNEP.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody here. On behalf of the United Nations Environment Programme, we recently published our 2024 Adaptation Gap Report. And that report highlighted that as the climate change impacts intensify, who are going to be those who are most affected? We know it's the most vulnerable. So having an initiative like this is very important as we move, unfortunately, into a world which is getting warmer and having more intense climate change impacts. And then we know as well that most of our populations around the world live in cities and urban environments. So again, when we bring those two together, we know that the vulnerable people are in cities. Again, it's very important that we have initiatives like this focusing on vulnerable in the urban context. UNEP is doing a lot of work on that in that area. And we in fact are going to work with the government of Kenya and the city of Nairobi, together with UN Habitat, in a project financed by the Global Environment Facility for $5 million. It's a donation, so it does not need to be repaid. Working with the city of Nairobi on building green and sustainable neighbourhoods, and therefore working with the different communities of Nairobi, looking at aspects around both reducing greenhouse gases and local emissions, but also looking at the aspects around water and vulnerability as well. So again, we congratulate this initiative, and we're very much, as we are based in UNEP as well, based in Nairobi, looking forward to supporting this, including through this GEF financed intervention. So thank you very much.
Thank you for UNEP, and I hope we'll collaborate on all this so that we have added value and not competing for same resources. Let me have the private sector here, because we want to bring all people along. Kenya Commercial Bank.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, Your Excellency, and all protocols observed. It is indeed a great honor for us to be here. KCB is a regional bank. We are in about 8 countries: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Southern Sudan, and DRC Congo. I want to take the shortest time to just give very quick areas that we can work together. And I'm very happy to see the GCF counterpart here, because I know we had put in a proposal for this particular program, and I do hope he's hearing me, because we would want to fast track that. KCB was one of the pioneering accredited financial institutions by GCF, and this really is a plug and play for us to really prioritize the program. I know we had been told that we need to prioritize the e-mobility and another one that we have submitted, but I'm asking because you're here today, we have an engagement so that we can fast track the BRUP program, and so that the bank can also put in, because we are happy to put in our stake as a matching to be able to address the current challenge of the increasing urbanization. So Africa, and particularly Kenya, is facing a significant housing shortage, with population growth projected to reach 52.4 million by end of 2024. The 2023 economic survey indicates that the real estate sector contributes 8.6% to the national's domestic product GDP, highlighting the critical role that housing plays. However, the sector suffers from a severe lack of affordable and decent housing, with only 2% of formally built homes available for lower income families. This housing shortage is further exaggerated by the climate crisis, with the urban poor communities already facing the harsh realities of climate shocks and extreme weather events. Allow me to just underpin KCB role in green financing and affordable housing. At KCB, we are dedicated to being part of the solution. We take pride in incorporating green finance into our cooperations by providing green lending solutions, and this includes financing for energy efficient buildings, sustainable materials, and renewable energy technologies. In 2023, we re-established our mortgage unit as a separate segment within our operations to concentrate on sustainable housing solutions. Over the past 13 years, KCB has financed more than $230 million in affordable housing projects, benefiting both private developers and county governments. We understand that achieving resilience in urban area requires not only financial support, but also committed to working along governments, NGOs, and international organizations. At KCB, we are engaging with a diverse array of stakeholders to secure resources for climate-smart, sustainable urban economies. Our partnerships include Global Climate Fund, where we are accredited, the IFC, International Finance Corporation, African Development Bank, I've seen Habitat for Humanity, who are also our partners. And out of these engagements, we do hope that we can work with you and Habitat on how we can build more smart cities, working with our central government as well as our county governments. Thank you very much. And as we continue to address the climate crisis, let us keep in mind that our collective future relies on innovative financial solutions and strategic partnerships. And I want to believe that's why we're here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I have one last intervention by Safaricom, if it is here. Unfortunately, the last one.
Thank you, Ambassador, and all protocols observed. I'll be very short. 30 seconds, start timing me now. On our part, is simply to accept the call to action that we had this afternoon, particularly from our colleague from GCF, who pointed out something very important, that for many of the urban poor, the consequences that we are speaking about are not round the corner. They are experiencing and living them now. As Safaricom, we recognize this call to action. And as a company, what are we doing? One, adopting technology to help mitigate the effects of climate change. And as far as that is concerned, one of the things that we have launched is an early warning system, which is already in play in conjunction with the Kenya Red Cross, through which we are able to send out early warnings, for example, through floods. And then in addition, through our other platforms, through which we are driving financial inclusion, such as M-Pesa, being able to facilitate the transfer of support funds from government and other well-wishers to many of these vulnerable communities. So today, our firm commitment is simple. We will continue to drive digital inclusion through our various connectivity engagements and solutions such as what I mentioned. Two, we will continue to drive financial inclusion, helping to shield many of our vulnerable communities. And in light of our theme for this year of COP, working in solidarity with all of you to be able to deliver the many commitments that will be addressed through this journey. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, let me say that when we are in meetings like this, we make commitments. What we want to see on the ground and the people that are out there are requesting that we transform this commitment into reality. And this is a case for BRUP. And the Prime Secretary said This is a fundraising event. Fund, collaboration, partnership. Let's go from Baku in Azerbaijan with the resolve that BRUP from now on is in the implementation phase, that we will gather the funds that are necessary. We'll thank AFDAN, we'll thank the Green Climate Fund, the others, including the private sector, to come and get in mind that it's people that we are dealing with suffering out there, not statistics. Hot blood people like us. Thank you. I have a group photo for people that were in the stage. And I have a
Gracias.